Imagine a book so mysterious, so enigmatic, that for over 600 years, it has resisted every attempt to be read. It's a puzzle that has stumped the world's best codebreakers, the most brilliant linguists, and even the most advanced AI. This isn't a work of fiction. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it's a book that no more one honors can read. So what exactly is this impossible book? The Voynich Manuscript is a handwritten codex, a book from the early 15th century. It's filled with page after page of elegant, flowing script. But there's a problem. The script, affectionately nicknamed Voynich essay, doesn't make any known language, ancient or modern. It's composed of strange, unfamiliar characters that seem to dance across the vellum pages. Alongside the text are hundreds of colorful illustrations of bizarre plants, astronomical charts, and the mysterious biological diagrams. For decades, it has been safely housed at Yale University's Voynich Book and Manuscript Library, where scholars from around the world come to stare at its pages, hoping to be the first to crack its code. But despite all this attention, its true meaning and the origin remain one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. The story of the manuscript itself is a journey through time. Using radiocarbon dating, scientists have traced the parchment back to the early 15th century, specifically between 1404 and 1438. While its earliest history is murky, its known trail begins in the late 16th century at the court of the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague, a man fascinated by alchemy and the occult. From there, it passed through the hands of various scholars and the alchemists, each trying and failing to decipher it. For nearly 200 years, it vanished from the historical record, only to be rediscovered in 1912. A Polish American rare book dealer named Wilfred Voynich found it tucked away in a chest of old books at a Jesuit college near Rome. He dedicated the rest of his life to solving its secrets, but the book held them tight. It's because of his obsession that the manuscript now bears his name. So, let's talk about the language itself. This Voynich essay. At first glance, it looks like it could be a real language. It's written from left to right, with distinct words separated by spaces. The script is made up of about 25 to 30 unique characters, which are repeated in different combinations, just like the letters in our alphabet. When linguists apply statistical analysis, they find that it behaves like a natural language. It follows something called Zipf's, which describes how in any language, some words are used very frequently while others are rare. The entropy, or the level of randomness in the text, is also similar to languages like Latin or English. It has structure, it has patterns, it looks meaningful, it feels meaningful, but it refuses to reveal that meaning. Every attempt to link it to known languages or ciphers has hit a dead end. It's a language that, by all accounts, simply shouldn't exist. If the text is baffling, the illustrations only deepen the mystery. The manuscript is divided into several sections, each with its own distinct style of drawings. The first and the largest section is botanical. It's filled with drawings of plants, but here's the strange part: almost none of them can be identified. They are alien flora, with impossible combinations of roots, stems, leaves, and the flowers that don't match any known species on Earth. Were these plants that have gone extinct? Or are they purely from the author's imagination? Then you turn the page and enter the astrological section, filled with intricate circular diagrams. They look like zodiacs, with symbols of the sun, moon, and the stars, but again, the constellations are unfamiliar. After that comes the most bizarre section of all, often called the biological or balneological section. It features drawings of dozens of small, nude female figures, most of whom are bathing in a network of interconnected tubes and pools filled with a strange green or blue fluid. What are these contraptions? Are they illustrating a medical procedure, an alchemical process, or some forgotten ritual? The diagrams don't meet anything from known science or history. Just like the plants and the text, they seem to come from a world entirely separate from our own. The purpose of these strange, beautiful, and unsettling images remains completely unknown. Every page you turn raises more questions than it answers. Is it a lost language, an elaborate code, a sophisticated hoax, or something else entirely? The text looks real, but says nothing. The illustrations look scientific, but depict the impossible. And this is where the real mystery begins. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world's most mysterious book. If you missed part 1, where we explored the manuscript's strange illustrations and the origins, be sure to check that out. Today, we're tackling the big question, why, after 6 centuries, has no more one been able to read a single word of the Voynich Manuscript? From the moment it was rediscovered, the brightest minds have thrown themselves at this puzzle. Think about this, the very same codebreakers who cracked the Enigma code during World War II, brilliant minds who turned the tide of history, were completely stumped by this medieval book. They applied every technique they had, but the manuscript gave up nothing. Linguists, historians, even early computer programs, all of them failed. In the modern era, we've unleashed powerful artificial intelligence on it, algorithms designed to find patterns in chaos. And while the AI confirms that the text isn't just random gibberish, it has a genuine linguistic structure it's still and translated. This isn't just a tough code, it's a 600-year-old digital fortress that has resisted every single attempt to breach it. So, what are we looking at? The first major theory, and the one that holds a lot of weight, is that we're dealing with a lost language or a complex cipher. Imagine a book of herbal remedies, alchemical recipes, or astronomical observations written by someone who wanted to protect their knowledge. To do this, they might have used what's called a polyalphabetic cipher, where one symbol can represent multiple letters, or maybe they used a nomenclator, which is part code, part shorthand. Some researchers believe the text could be an abbreviated form of a known language, like Latin, but condensed into a unique script to save space on expansive parchment. The patterns detected by AI support this. The text has features like word frequency and the entropy that mirror real languages. It feels like we're looking at a genuine language through a distorted lens. The tantalizing part is that the key might be lost forever, a secret that died with its author. It's a verified possibility, a ghost language that we can see but can't hear. We're so close, yet infinitely far away. But what if the answer is simpler, and far more cynical? Theory number 2 suggests the Voynich Manuscript is the most elaborate, most successful hoax in history. Picture this, a clever charlatan in the 15th or 16th century wants to make a fortune. They know that wealthy nobles and the emperors, like Rudolf II, are obsessed with alchemy, magic, and the forbidden knowledge. So, they create a book that looks ancient and profound, filling it with bizarre drawings and an indecipherable script. The goal wasn't to record knowledge, but to create the illusion of it. They craft a text that mimics the statistical properties of a real language just enough to be convincing, knowing that no more one could ever prove it was fake. The sheer complexity of the manuscript is the main counter-argument. Creating over 200 pages of consistent, structured gibberish would be an immense, almost obsessive undertaking. Why go to such lengths? Was it for money, for fame, or was it the ultimate intellectual prank played on future generations? This theory creates a fascinating conflict. Are we wrestling with a lost library of ancient wisdom, or are we falling for a brilliant fraud, a 600-year-old practical joke? Let us venture into even stranger territory with our third theory. What if the manuscript isn't a language at all, at least not in the way we understand it? This is the idea that we're looking at something fundamentally different, a system we don't have a modern equivalent for. One possibility is that it's a constructed language, or a chonlang, like Tolkien's Elvish or Star Trek's Klingon, but created centuries before anyone had thought of such a thing. It would have its own grammar and vocabulary, completely unrelated to any known language family. Another idea is that it's not meant to be read aloud, but is a symbolic or mnemonic system. Each word could be a trigger for a complex idea, a visual aid to help someone remember vast amounts of information, like a series of oral traditions or rituals. Think of it less like a book and more like a highly specialized database for a body of knowledge that has since vanished from the world. We might be trying to read a blueprint as if it were a novel. The language isn't the message. It's the key to a system of thought that is completely alien to us. And so, we arrive at a central, maddening enigma. The Voynich Manuscript remains a perfect mystery. It sits there, a silent challenge to our collective intelligence. It has resisted codebreakers, computers, and the centuries of scrutiny. Every theory we have, from a lost language to a masterful hoax, has compelling points and the frustrating dead ends. It's a historical and intellectual black hole, pulling in our curiosity but letting no more answers escape. The fact that it continues to endure, unsolved, is perhaps its most fascinating quality. It reminds us that for all our technology and knowledge, there are still corners of our own history that are shrouded in absolute darkness. Maybe the Voynich Manuscript isn't waiting to be decoded. Maybe it's waiting for humanity to ask a different kind of question, to develop a new way of thinking that can finally meet it on its own terms. What if the key isn't in breaking the code, but in understanding the mind that created it? Thank you so much for watching. If you're as fascinated by this mystery as I am, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.